Have you ever felt that the world is moving a bit too fast, leaving you feeling slightly overlooked, or perhaps a little more alone than you expected? In our later years, we often face quiet pressures, the silence of an empty house, or the feeling that our influence over our loved ones is fading. This is a common part of the human journey, but it can weigh heavily on the heart. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself of a simple truth. He wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. He believed that once we realize this, we find true strength. For example, imagine sitting on your porch, waiting for a message that does not arrive. Instead of letting that silence hurt you, you can choose to remain steady and at peace. Today, we will explore 7 practical principles and simple exercises to help you reclaim your mental space. I invite you to stay with us until the end as we walk this path together. If you are ready, please type "I control my response" in the comments. I control my response. The first principle we will explore is the core foundation of Stoic wisdom. It is called the dichotomy of control. This principle teaches us that there is a clear, unbreakable line that divides everything in the universe into 2 categories. On one side are the things that are within our complete power. These are our own thoughts, or intentions, and our personal responses to the world. On the other side is everything else. This includes the weather, the economy, and most importantly, the thoughts and actions of other people. The Stoics believed that almost all of our mental suffering comes from a single mistake. We spend our energy trying to change things on the outside, while neglecting the one thing we can truly control on the inside. When we grasp this, we stop being victims of our circumstances, and we become the masters of our own character. Applying this wisdom today is perhaps harder than it was in ancient times. We live in an age of instant connection and constant updates. We can see when someone has read our message. We can see photos of our family members living their lives without us. Because we can communicate so easily, we often feel that we should be able to influence or fix the people we love. This is especially true for those of us who have spent decades being the providers or the guides for our children. It is difficult to accept that once our children are grown, their choices and their reactions belong entirely to them. We feel that if we just say the right thing or show enough concern, we can control their happiness or their opinion of us. But in reality, trying to control another person is like trying to hold on to the wind. It only leaves us feeling exhausted and unappreciated. Consider a fictional situation that many of us might find familiar. Imagine you have disagreed with an adult child or a close relative. After the tension, you decide to reach out. You send a thoughtful message, hoping for a warm response that will mend the rift. You wait. You see the notification that the message was received, but hours pass. And then days. There is only silence. In this silence, your mind begins to create stories. You wonder if they are angry or if they are punishing you. You might even feel a sense of betrayal. The more you think about their coldness, the more your own peace begins to crumble. Your happiness has become a prisoner to a text message that has not arrived. The Stoics looked at this situation with great clarity. They taught that the silence of another person is an external event. It is like a storm in a distant city. It may be unfortunate, but it has no power to harm your soul unless you permit it. Epictetus was a man who understood this better than anyone. as he spent years living under the control of a master before he found his true freedom in philosophy. Epictetus taught that some things are up to us and some things are not. Our opinions and impulses are our own. However, the bodies and reputations of others are not. He believed that if you try to make things your own that are naturally others, you will lament, you will be disturbed, and you will find fault with both gods and men. When we obsess over why a family member is acting a certain way, we are failing to follow this advice. We are trying to own their reaction, but their silence is their choice. Your choice is to remain a person of dignity, whether they speak to you or not. You may find this especially helpful to apply when you feel betrayed or misunderstood by those closest to you. In moments of family tension, the overthinking can be relentless. You might play old conversations back in your head over and over again. But remember that your memory is a tool for learning, not a place to live. When the thoughts of betrayal arise, remind yourself that the other person is acting according to their own nature and their own limited understanding. They are not acting against you, they are acting for themselves. By letting go of the need for them to understand you, you reclaim your power to move from theory into reality. Let us perform a simple exercise together. This is a practice we call the 10-minute split. I invite you to find a quiet place and take a single piece of paper. Draw a line straight down the middle from top to bottom. On the left side of the line, write the words, "My responsibility." On the right side of the line, write the words, "Not my responsibility." Now, take 10 minutes to think about the conflict or the person that is weighing on your mind. On the left side, list the few things you can actually do. This might be speaking with kindness, or sending a single invitation, or keeping my heart open. These are your actions. On the right side, list the things you cannot control. This will include their reply, their mood, their forgiveness, and their past behavior. When you are finished, fold the paper in half so that you can only see the left side. Look at that list. That is your world. That is where your energy belongs. Everything on the other half of the paper belongs to fate. You can breathe a sigh of relief because those things are no longer your job to fix. By repeating this practice, you train your mind to stay within your circle of control. You begin to see that you can be a loving parent, a devoted spouse, or a loyal friend without needing the other person to act a certain way in return. This is the path to a steadfast heart. It is the path to a life where your peace cannot be taken away by a silent phone or a cold look. You are the captain of your own thoughts. If you find comfort in this principle today, I invite you to join our community in the comments. It helps us all to know we are walking this path together. Please take a moment to type the following words. Type, "I give up the need to control others." I give up the need to control others. The second principle we will explore is perhaps the most challenging, yet the most rewarding for those of us navigating the later seasons of life. It is the concept of amor fati, a Latin phrase that means the love of fate. This is not merely the act of gritting your teeth and tolerating your circumstances. It is something much deeper and more beautiful. The Stoics believed that every event in our lives, whether we judge it as good or bad, is a necessary part of the great tapestry of the universe. To practice amor fati is to look at your life exactly as it is right now, with all its joys and its many heartaches, and to say, yes, this is exactly what I need to grow. It is the art of treating every challenge not as a mistake of destiny, but as the raw material for your own greatness. In our modern world, this principle feels almost impossible to apply. We are surrounded by messages telling us that we should always be pursuing comfort and pleasure. Our culture often treats aging as something to be feared or hidden away. We are told that our best years are the ones spent in youth, and that the limitations of our bodies are a sign of failure. When we find ourselves in the role of a caregiver, or when we face the gradual decline of our own health, it is easy to feel a sense of deep resentment. We might look at social media or television and see others traveling and living without a care, and we feel that our lives have become a cage of chores and doctor visits. We feel that life has stopped happening to us, and that we are simply waiting for the end. This resentment is a heavy burden that doubles our suffering. We are not just dealing with the physical challenge, we are dealing with the emotional weight of feeling that our life should be different from what it is. Let us look at a fictional situation that touches the hearts of many in our community. Imagine you are caring for a spouse whose health has been declining for years. Your days are no longer your own. They are filled with the same repetitive tasks: managing medications, preparing specific meals, and assisting with the simple movements of daily life. The dreams you had for your retirement together have changed. You might feel your own personal freedom slipping away, replaced by a routine that feels exhausting and invisible to the rest of the world. In the quiet moments of the afternoon, a thought might creep in. This is not the life I wanted. You feel a sense of loss, not just for your partner's health, but for your own identity. This is exactly where the Stoic wisdom of Marcus Aurelius provides a lantern in the dark. Marcus was a man who knew the weight of heavy responsibility. He did not want to be an emperor, he wanted to be a philosopher. Yet, he spent decades in muddy military camps, managing a dying empire and a grieving heart. He realized that complaining about his fate was like a person trying to argue with the rain. It changes nothing and only makes the person colder. Marcus wrote that the mind converts every obstacle to its own purposes. He believed that our internal fire is like a great bonfire. A small lamp might be extinguished by a handful of dry leaves, but a great fire consumes everything you throw into it and grows even brighter. He famously taught that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. When we apply this to caregiving or aging, everything changes. The repetitive task is no longer an interruption of your life. The task is your life. The act of patience required to help a loved one is not a burden. It is the exercise that makes your soul strong. This is especially true when we consider our personal faith. Many of us believe that we are placed in these roles for a divine reason. Stoicism complements this by giving us the mental discipline to honor that role. When you find yourself overthinking your situation or feeling a sense of betrayal by life, remember that the obstacle is not blocking the path. The obstacle is the path itself. Every moment of care you give is a moment of profound human dignity. You are not losing yourself in service. You are finding a version of yourself that is stronger, kinder, and more resilient than you ever imagined. This principle is vital when you feel the weight of overthinking your future. You may worry about how long you can sustain your strength, or what will happen when you can no longer manage on your own. Amor Fati asks you to return to this very moment. This moment is the only place where life is actually happening. By loving this moment, even with its difficulties, you reclaim your dignity. You stop being a victim of fate, and you become its partner. You are not just surviving your life, you are mastering it. To help you move from these thoughts into a feeling of peace, I invite you to try a simple practice called the reframing walk. Sometime today, I would like you to spend exactly 15 minutes walking. If you cannot walk outside, a slow walk through your home is just as powerful. With every step you take, I want you to identify one thing in your life that you currently view as a burden. It might be a physical pain, a difficult chore, or a feeling of loneliness. As you name each burden, I want you to consciously reframe it as a service of love or a lesson in strength. Instead of saying to yourself, "I have to do this," I want you to say, "Kre. I am the kind of person who is strong enough to do this." For example, instead of saying, "I have to manage these medications again," try saying, "I am a person who provides comfort and care to those I love." Instead of saying, "My body feels slow and tired today," try saying, "This body has carried me through decades of life, and I will honor it with patience today." Spend the full 15 minutes in this rhythm. Step. Identify and reframe. Step. Identify and reframe. By the end of this walk, you may find that the weight on your shoulders feels just a little lighter, not because the situation has changed, but because you have changed. You are no longer fighting against your life. You are walking with it. You are finding the dignity that has been there all along. This is the beauty of the steadfast heart. It does not need the world to be perfect to be at peace. It finds its peace in the very act of living. Regardless of the terrain, you are doing a noble work. Even if no one else sees it, you are building a legacy of character that will never fade. If you are finding the strength to embrace your journey today, I invite you to share that commitment with our community. It is a powerful thing to see that we are not alone in our service. Please take a moment to type the following words in the comments. Type, "I find strength in my service." I find strength in my service. The third principle we will study together is one of the most beautiful and healing tools in the Stoic treasury. It is known as the view from above. This is the practice of mentally stepping back from your immediate surroundings and expanding your perspective until you see your life as a single thread in a vast and ancient tapestry. The Stoics believed that when we are in pain, our minds become like a microscope. We focus so intensely on our own hurt, our own loneliness, or our own mistakes that the rest of the world disappears. The view from above is the remedy for this narrow focus. It reminds us that we are part of a much larger human story. It teaches us that our current season of life, no matter how quiet or difficult it may feel, is a natural and expected part of the whole. By zooming out, we do not make our feelings unimportant. Instead, we make them manageable. We find the space to breathe again. In our modern world, this practice is incredibly difficult to maintain. We live in a culture that is obsessed with the individual. Everything around us, from the news we read to the advertisements we see, is designed to make us feel like our personal desires and our personal problems are the center of the universe. For those of us who live alone or who have seen our social circles grow smaller over time, this can lead to a dangerous kind of isolation. When we spend hours in the quiet of our own homes, our thoughts can become very loud. We tend to dwell on the past, playing the same memories over and over. We live in a world of screens that often show us the highlighted lives of others, making our own quiet days seem empty by comparison. This creates a microscopic focus on what we lack. We begin to feel that our pain is unique, and that the world has moved on without us. This sense of being disconnected from the broader human experience is where the deepest loneliness takes root. Let us consider a fictional situation that many of us might recognize in our own hearts. Imagine you are sitting in your favorite chair as the sun begins to set. The house is silent, perhaps for the third night in a row. As the light fades, your mind begins to wander into the territory of regret. You think of a relationship that ended poorly years ago. You remember a betrayal by a friend you thought would be there forever. You might even find yourself thinking about a career choice or a financial decision from 30 years ago that didn't work out. You think, if only I had done that differently, I wouldn't be sitting here alone today. The weight of what might have been begins to feel like a heavy blanket. In that quiet room, your mistakes feel like the largest things in the world. You feel as though you are the only person who has ever felt this specific sting of honesty and regret. This is exactly when we must call upon the wisdom of the ancient Stoics. They were masters at dealing with the heavy weight of history and the fleeting nature of time. Marcus Aurelius was the leader of the entire known world. Yet he often felt the crushing weight of his own responsibilities and the loneliness of his position. To find peace, he would mentally lift himself above his palace and his empire. He would look at the stars and remember that millions of people had lived, loved, and struggled long before he was born. And millions more would do the same long after he was gone. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Think of the totality of all being, and what a tiny part of it you are. Think of the totality of all time, and how brief the span assigned to you. Think of fate, and how very little a part of it you are." He reminded himself that the past is unchangeable and therefore belongs to the realm of fate. He believed that once a moment has passed, it no longer belongs to you. It belongs to the history of the universe. By looking at the sky, the Stoics saw that everyone faces the same joys and the same sorrows. Your loneliness is not a sign that you have failed. It is a sign that you are participating in the common human experience. You may find this perspective especially healing when you are struggling with overthinking a past betrayal. It is natural to feel that someone has stolen something from you. Your trust, your time, or your happiness. But when you apply the view from above, you see that their actions are a reflection of their own character, not a stain on yours. In the vastness of time, their betrayal is a small event. You are still here. You are still the guardian of your own soul. The past cannot be changed, but your relationship to it can. By accepting that your past belongs to fate, you free yourself to live in the present. You are not a victim of your history. You are a student of it. To help you find this peace today, I invite you to perform a simple exercise called the Evening Review. Sometime today, as the sun begins to set or as the evening stars appear, I would like you to spend exactly 5 minutes sitting by a window. If the weather is clear, look up at the sky. If you are indoors, simply look out at the horizon. During these 5 minutes, I want you to perform a 3-step mental journey. Step number 1. Look at your own hands. Think of the work they have done today. Think of the simple, small tasks you have completed. This is your immediate world. Step number 2. Look out at your neighborhood or the trees outside. Think of all the other people behind those windows. Think of the many families who are also having dinner, feeling tired, or facing their own worries. Realize that you are one of many. You are part of a community of hearts, all beating at the same time. Step number 3. Look up at the sky or the fading light. Think of the decades that have passed in your own life. Now, think of the centuries that have passed before you. Realize that every person who ever lived has felt regret, and every person has felt the quiet of an evening. They have all made it through, and you will too. As you sit there, say, care to yourself. My regrets belong to the past. My character belongs to this moment. Let the vastness of the sky remind you that your problems do not have to be as large as you thought. You are a small but vital part of a grand and beautiful order. You are exactly where you are supposed to be in the story of the world. This is the power of the steadfast heart. It knows that while our lives are brief, they are deeply meaningful when we live them with dignity and grace. For those of us with a strong faith, this perspective is a beautiful way to see the providence of the Creator in every detail of the universe. We are never truly alone when we realize we are part of the whole. If you are choosing to let go of the past and find peace in your journey today, I invite you to share that intention with us. It is a beautiful way to encourage others who may be feeling the same weight of regret. Please take a moment to type the following words in the comments. Type, I am at peace with my journey. I am at peace with my journey. In this special section, we will look at how to apply these ancient truths to the very specific, sharp edges of life that we often face today. There are moments when general philosophy is not enough. We need a direct way to handle the sting of broken trust or the heavy cloud of worry that comes with a doctor's visit. The Stoics were not just theorists. They were people who lived through civil wars, plagues, and deep personal betrayals. They developed specific mental habits for these exact moments. First, let us look at the experience of betrayal. This is perhaps one of the most painful experiences we can face in our later years. It might be a friend of 30 years who speaks ill of you behind your back. It might be a family member who has broken a promise, or a partner who has let you down when you needed them most. The Stoic principle here is profound and a little surprising. They believed that when someone hurts you, they have already harmed their own soul. In the Stoic view, virtue is the only true good, and character is the only true possession. Therefore, the person who acts with cruelty or dishonesty has lost their most valuable treasure. They have damaged their own capacity for happiness. You, on the other hand, have lost an external thing, perhaps a reputation or a comfort. But your character remains intact. You have not lost your soul. Applying this today is very difficult because our modern world encourages us to seek justice through anger. We are told that we should be outraged, and that holding on to a grudge is a way of protecting ourselves. In a small community or a close family, a betrayal can feel like a public humiliation. We might spend hours overthinking what we should have said, or how we can get even. This anger feels like a shield, but in reality, it is a poison that we drink ourselves, hoping the other person will suffer. We end up losing our sleep and our peace over someone who may not even be thinking about us. We allow their bad character to infect our good character. Let us consider a fictional illustration. Imagine a woman named Margaret who has spent years helping a neighbor. She shared her home, her time, and her resources. One day, Margaret discovers that this neighbor has been spreading unkind and untrue stories about her to the rest of the community. Margaret feels a deep, cold sting in her chest. She feels foolish for being so kind. She feels the urge to go to every house in the neighborhood to defend herself and to reveal how ungrateful the neighbor is. Her mind is on fire with a sense of unfairness. The Stoic analysis of Margaret's situation is clear. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayals on a much larger scale. Yet he wrote words that can guide Margaret today. Marcus Aurelius taught that the best revenge is to be unlike the one who inflicted the injury. He believed that if we become bitter and vengeful, the betrayer has won twice. They have taken your trust, and now they have taken your kindness. Instead, the Stoics would encourage Margaret to realize that her neighbor's behavior is a sign of a sick and confused mind. Margaret's kindness was her own choice, and its value is not erased by the neighbor's reaction. The neighbor has harmed her own soul by being a liar. Margaret can remain a person of dignity by refusing to join the neighbor in the mud of gossip. This is a powerful way to find peace when facing betrayal in your own life. You may find this especially helpful when a relationship you valued has turned cold. When you feel the urge to lash out or to drown in resentment, remind yourself that your character is your shield. Do not harm your own peace by holding on to the anger of another person. Focus on your own virtue. Focus on being the kind of person who is still capable of goodness, even in a world that is sometimes unkind. Now, let us move to the second sharp edge. Overthinking about our health or our future. For many of us, the uncertainty of what lies ahead is a constant source of anxiety. We worry about our savings lasting. We worry about a new pain in our joints or a lab result that hasn't arrived yet. The Stoic principle here is the discipline of the present moment. They believed that anxiety is simply the act of living in a future that does not exist yet. We suffer twice, once in our imagination, and perhaps once in reality, if the event actually happens, but many times the event never happens, and we have wasted our precious present moment in a state of fear. In our modern age, this is made much worse by the constant flow of information. We have the internet at our fingertips, allowing us to search for every possible symptom or economic disaster. We are bombarded with news that tells us the world is falling apart. This information creates a microscopic focus on things we cannot control. We become paralyzed by what-ifs. We spend the morning worrying about what might happen in 10 years, and we forget to enjoy the cup of coffee that is in our hands right now. This overthinking robs us of our dignity and our ability to be present for the people we love. Consider this fictional situation. Imagine a man named Thomas who is waiting for the results of a routine health screening for 3 days. Thomas has been unable to read his book or enjoy his garden. His mind is constantly playing out the worst possible scenarios. He is already imagining the treatments, the costs, and the burden he will be on his family. He is grieving for a future that has not even been confirmed. Thomas is physically in his garden, but his mind is in a cold hospital room 5 months in the future. The Stoic philosopher Seneca spoke directly to people like Thomas. Seneca was a man who lived under the threat of death for many years, yet he remained productive and calm. Seneca wrote that there are more things likely to frighten us than there are to crush us. He taught that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. He believed that most of our fears are like shadows. They look large and terrifying from a distance, but they have no substance when we step into them. The Stoic advice for Thomas is to return to the only time that is real, the next 10 minutes. To help you manage this overthinking, I invite you to practice what we call the next right step. When you feel the cloud of worry about the future beginning to gather, stop. Do not look at the next year. Do not even look at the next week. Instead, ask yourself, what is the most virtuous thing I can do in the next 10 minutes? It might be something very simple. Step number 1. Drink a glass of water and be grateful for the cool refreshment. Step number 2. Sit up straight and feel the strength in your spine. Step number 3. Reach out to a friend just to say hello, or speak a kind word to someone in your home. Step number 4. Focus entirely on the task of folding a piece of laundry or tending to one plant. By focusing only on the next 10 minutes, you anchor yourself in reality. You realize that in this 10-minute window, you are actually safe. You are actually okay. You give your mind a rest from the marathon of the future. Forget the next 10 years for a moment. Just be a Stoic for the next 10 minutes. This is the path to a steadfast heart. It is not about knowing what will happen. It is about knowing that whatever happens, you will handle it with character and dignity when the time comes. For today, your only job is to be present and to be kind. If you are facing a betrayal or a heavy worry today, please know that you have the strength to remain steady. You are not defined by what happens to you, but by how you choose to respond. To anchor this in our hearts, I invite you to type a short affirmation in the comments. It is a simple way to tell your mind that you are taking back control. Type, I am steady in this moment. I am steady in this moment. The final principle we will examine is the structure of the steadfast heart. It is the realization that wisdom is not a destination we reach once, but a daily practice. The Stoics used the word ascesis, which means training or exercise. They believed that philosophy is a craft. Much like woodworking or sailing, you do not become a master sailor by reading a book about the sea. You become one by steering your ship through both calm waters and violent storms every single day. The steadfast heart is built through a structured routine that prepares the mind for the morning and reviews the soul in the evening. This consistent training creates an inner stability that cannot be shaken by the unpredictable events of the world. In our modern lives, this kind of disciplined training is very difficult to maintain. We are constantly bombarded with distractions that pull us away from our internal focus. From the moment we wake up, many of us reach for our phones or turn on the news, allowing the chaos of the world to set the tone for our day. We live in a culture that values speed and reaction over reflection and character. Because our lives are so busy with chores, family obligations, and the noise of digital life, we often forget to check our own mental compass. We react to every small frustration like a dry leaf blown about by the wind. Without a plan, we are simply at the mercy of whatever happens to us. This leads to a feeling of being overwhelmed and out of control, as if we are spectators in our own lives rather than the captains of our souls. Consider a fictional situation that illustrates this common struggle. Imagine a woman named Sarah, who is 65 years old. Sarah wants to be a person of peace, but her days often feel like a series of small fires she has to put out. She starts her morning by reading a distressing political headline. Then, she receives a phone call from a relative. who complains for 30 minutes. Later, a rude driver cuts her off in traffic, and she finds herself gripping the steering wheel in anger. By the evening, Sarah is exhausted and resentful. She feels that her peace has been stolen by everyone she has encountered. Sarah has a good heart, but she does not have a steadfast heart because she has no daily plan to protect her inner citadel. She is reactive rather than prepared. The Stoics offered a clear solution for Sarah and for all of us. They believed that a virtuous life requires a morning preparation and an evening harvest. Marcus Aurelius, despite being the most powerful man in the world, practiced this every single day. He knew that the world would be difficult, so he prepared his mind before his feet even touched the floor. Marcus Aurelius wrote a famous reminder to himself. He said that when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself that the people you deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. He did not say this to be cynical. He said it so that he would not be surprised or hurt when people acted according to their nature. He believed that if you prepare for the storm, you will not be frightened when the first drop of rain falls. By setting an intention in the morning and reviewing his actions at night, he remained the master of his own character. You may find this structured approach especially helpful when you are dealing with recurring family drama or a long-term health challenge. These situations can feel like a marathon that never ends. Without a daily routine, your energy will eventually run out. But with a plan, you can conserve your strength and maintain your dignity. You stop asking why the world is difficult, and you start asking how you can be steady within it. This is the path to true freedom. To help you build this inner strength, I invite you to follow a simple 7-day plan. This is a week of training for the steadfast heart. Days number 1 and 2 are for practicing the gap. Your only goal for these 48 hours is to notice the space between a stimulus and your reaction. When a phone rings, when someone says something unkind, or when you drop a glass, wait. Count to 3 before you speak or move. Notice that in those 3 seconds, you have the power to choose your response. Days number 3 and 4 are for the complaint fast. For these 2 days, make a commitment not to complain about anything. Do not complain about the weather, your health, the government, or other people. If a complaint enters your mind, simply let it pass without giving it a voice. Observe how much more energy you have when you stop leaking it through complaints. Days number 5 and 6 are for voluntary simplicity. Choose one meal each day to eat in total silence. Do not watch television or read. Simply focus on the nourishment and be grateful for the food. This practice helps you reclaim your focus and appreciate the simple gifts of life that we often take for granted. Day number 7 is for legacy reflection. Spend this day acting as if you are the wise elder you want to be remembered as. Ask yourself at every turn, how would a person of great dignity and kindness handle this? This day is about living your philosophy out loud. To make this 7-day plan work, you must support it with a morning and evening routine. Your morning routine is the preparation as soon as you wake up, before you check your phone or start your day. Acknowledge this truth. Say to yourself, today, I will likely meet people who are difficult or ungrateful. I will not let their behavior touch my character. I cannot control them, but I can control my kindness. Then, set one specific intention. For example, you might say, today, I will practice one act of patience. Your evening routine is the harvest. Before you go to sleep, take 5 minutes to review your day. Do not judge yourself harshly. Simply be an observer. Ask yourself, what did I do well today? Where did I lose my peace? What can I do better tomorrow? If you lost your temper or felt overwhelmed, forgive yourself. Acknowledge that you are a student of life. Then, let the day go. Sleep with a clear conscience, knowing you did your best to live with virtue. This 7-day plan is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming consistent. It is about showing up for yourself every day. When you follow this rhythm, you realize that your peace is not something that happens to you. Your peace is something you build. Brick. Through your daily choices, you are creating a fortress that no external event can tear down. For those of us who hold a deep faith, this daily plan is a way to honor the life we have been given. It is a way to be a light for others by remaining steady in a chaotic world. You are not just living for yourself. You are showing everyone around you what it looks like to have a steadfast heart. If you are ready to begin this 7-day journey with us, I invite you to make a public commitment in our community. It is a simple way to strengthen your resolve and to encourage others who are also starting their training. Please take a moment to type the following words in the comments. Type, I am building a steadfast heart. I am building a steadfast heart. As we come to the end of our time together, I want you to remember Marcus Aurelius once more. Think of him sitting in that lonely tent by the Danube River, surrounded by a world in chaos. He did not find his peace by changing the Roman Empire, or by ending the plague, or by forcing his enemies to be kind. He found his peace by returning to his inner citadel. He realized that while the world is unpredictable, his character was his own. The 3 lessons we have shared today are the keys to that same fortress. First, remember to control your reactions, not the world. Focus on the gap between what happens and how you respond. Second, learn to love your current season. Even the difficult parts. Every challenge is the fuel that makes your inner fire burn brighter. And third, always zoom out to find perspective. You are part of a vast and beautiful human story that has endured for ages. Our main lesson today is simple and full of hope. Peace is not something you find in a quiet world. It is something you carry with you into a noisy one. You are not alone in this journey. Millions have walked this path before you, and millions are walking it beside you right now. You have the strength within you to be steady, and you are doing much better than you think. As you move forward, I encourage you to begin your training. Try the morning preparation by setting one intention for patience. Try the evening harvest by reviewing your day with kindness. And if you are ready, follow the 7-day plan we discussed. Start with those 3 seconds of silence. Practice the complaint fast. Look at the stars and remember your place in the grand design. Before you go, I invite you to make a small, honest commitment to yourself in the comments. Please share one small thing you will do differently tomorrow. Perhaps you will take the 10-minute split, or perhaps you will try the reframing walk. Once you have shared your commitment, I invite you to join our community by subscribing and sharing this reflection with someone who might need a steady heart today. To seal this intention, let us end with one final affirmation. Type, my peace is my power. My peace is my power. These ideas are shared for reflection and personal growth. and they are not a substitute for professional mental health support. We respect all personal beliefs and do not claim that Stoicism is a religion. If you are going through something heavy, please reach out to someone you trust or a qualified professional. Thank you for spending this time with us. Peace be with you.